Right, are you still with me? Now let's look at how you can add value to your cakes without adding too much extra cost to yourself. So to explain, a fondant cake with sharp edges can easily justify an extra tenner a tier because it just looks so much more professional. If you follow Cakes by Carol and her sharp edge smoother that she sells, like this isn't an advert, I bought it and I love it. Basically, you flip your cake upside down once you've got the fondant on onto an acrylic disc, and you use this right angled smoother. You basically beat the fondant flat, right? It's really quick and easy to do. It flattens your top immediately because you flipped it upside down, and it brings your sides in line really quickly. It's faster than the old way that I used to try, with two separate smoothers, with it upright. Adds value, no cost once you've paid for your smoother, and it cut my time a lot compared to how I used to do it, and my cakes look better for it. You can charge an extra few quid a dozen cupcakes by just quickly coring them out, piping jam or curd or caramel into the centres, and then melt a bit of chocolate, drizzle it over a swirl. It's pennies, and it's a couple of minutes maximum per cupcake, and it takes them right up a notch. So little things like this, it all adds value without adding too much cost. Foil cake boards, the silver should never really be visible if you're trying to up your brand and charge more for your cakes. So either swap for those modern whiteboards or cover them up with fondant or ganache and put a ribbon around edge. It's hardly any cost or time, and it just makes for a pro looking cake. If you've got an edible printer, so it don't cost you too much more for your edible prints, I did a waffle board for an A Stranger Things cake. I've done an eyeshadow palette on one before, Minecraft print. Again, it just takes the whole thing up a notch and adds a lot of value without adding a lot of cost to the cake. If you can, or if you do use a lot of edible prints, it really may well be worth investing in your own edible printer. It will need using at least once a week though to stop it drying out, so weigh out whether that'll be worth it for you. Same with an airbrush. It's a big initial investment, but your cakes are going to levitate. You can charge more for them. It's going to save you a lot of time on buying, a lot of money on buying coloured fondant, and time colouring your fondant as well, because you just cover your cakes with white and then airbrush the whole thing. Just let it dry before decorating, and you've got a really lovely vivid red or black cake. Learning how to colour properly really helps. It's worth investing a bit of time in doing that, especially with your buttercream, offsetting the yellow tones. Remembering that colours get darker or brighter over time. So learning how to do proper colouring really helps, and getting black and red perfect really, really ups your game. When it comes to your drips, sloppy drips can spoil a cake, cheapen how it looks. So just watch a few different videos on YouTube and just practice, because there's different mediums you can drip with. You can use candy melts, you can use ganache. I've even seen people melting buttercream and using that. So learn what works for you that gets them perfect. If you get a tall metal scraper, not one of the short ones, I've got the Choctastic one. It was about a tenner, but no matter how tall the cake's at, it's a 12-inch scraper, so it gets those sides perfectly sharp all the time. Again, adds value because you've got that smoothness. If you've followed my previous advice and made extra butterflies and blossoms and things, Lego bricks if you're making them, you'll always have that little extra finishing touch to add at the last minute that might just make your cake come alive, just that little bit of extra pop of colour. There's an Australian cake programme, I can never ever remember what this programme was called. There's not many Australian ones though, but they'd done a sea-themed cake with like a rowing boat on top with a couple sitting in, and it just lacked a little bit of something, and basically all they did, took them about 10 minutes, they used some leftover fondant that they'd covered the tiers with and put like a wave effect around bottom tier, and that took it up such an amazing notch. It made the difference between a good cake that kind of felt like it had a bit of something lacking for such high-end brand, and yeah, that's us now, that's our cake. Your customer service, that's a massive part of your value. Don't underestimate how just the way you speak to people and message people really does affect the value that you bring. Because the cake can be the best cake they've ever had, but if your communication's not very good and your service is a bit poor, they're not going to come back. Over delivering. you can budget for this if you want to. Like your unboxing experience, you know, nice bit of ribbon and a gift tag on your boxes. It doesn't cost a lot, but it adds value. If you do a wedding cake, just do them a little bride and groom cupcake, you know, in the little gift box next to cake. It doesn't cost you a lot more, especially in terms of making a full wedding order, but it just adds that little bit of something that impresses them, and it adds value without adding a lot of cost to you. So all this kind of stuff helps you to justify those prices because it helps people to see your value.